Now, I know this is kind of weird for me to ask. Where exactly are you at right now? Because you're a big video game collector, and I think the only thing in the footage I see right now is that you have the PlayStation 3, not PlayStation 3, the PS4, and then the Mortal Kombat sign. Where exactly are you at right now?
Yes, so this is my like smaller kind of like gaming, but it's more of like this toy collection room where I have like different toy franchises, ranging from like the 80s, 90s. Then I have some of my modern systems kind of in here.
Hmm.
And then, I have my computer right here, just like in the closet. But this is primarily my, toy collection room.
Oh, wait a minute. You said that your computer's in a closet, so you're technically inside a closet right now doing this interview.
Yes, so needed more space. So I used to have my desk right here where these three like bookshelves were.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, like the way that the desk is, you have all this empty space above it. So I had like this big Batman canvas art.
Hmm.
I got this bright idea that the doors were going to come off of this closet. I was going to put the desk in. It fit with like an inch to spare. And it just worked out perfect because then I was able to get like three more bookshelves and then fill them with toy collections.
Holy cow. So, I know that we were talking a little bit about it before the recording of the interview. Now, remind me again, you said that it's not just one toy room, but you specifically stated that you have, what was it, three game rooms in total?
So I have like this toy collection room which has some games in it.
Hmm.
I also like took over the hallway of mostly like VHS tapes, some movies, some little action figures, mostly like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, like a variety like that.
Hmm.
And then going down the steps to like the main level, so this is on like the top. The little stair landing, I have all of my like newer games like the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, some PC games. And then all the way in the basement, I have my entire major game room.
Hmm.
And then there's a bonus, like it was supposed to be a bedroom. And I took that over and made it an arcade room. And then soon, I'm transforming the bathroom into like a video game related bathroom. And then also the garage I'm taking over because I already have some arcade machines out there and some like Sega cabinets and like big store displays. So that's like my next step is moving even more room to dedicate for more stuff.
That's one thing when it comes to anyone's video game collection that I've always seen just like one big room, and there's like I'm trying to think of the gamer's name. Oh, Last Gamer. I know that
Mhm.
they're from Australia, I believe, and they have like what is regarded as one of the biggest video game collections. And yeah, they've basically transformed their whole house and even
Mhm.
like upgraded it even bigger than that. Now, so that has to bring the next question up since you mentioned about your garage. So you have a vehicle, obviously. Where are you going to be able to park it now, especially when it's like snowing out in the evening?
Well, because of the arcades that are already in there, and like the 6 foot long Sega cabinet, and then some
Hmm.
other cabinets, and then of course like decorations for the holidays. It never gets parked in the garage, so it's always parked outside in the driveway. So that's kind of the give and take that you have to do when you have this big video game collection.
A bit of give and take, I'll take it. So, yeah, that was one of the things that when RetroWolf88 was posting up on his channel about your collection and just seeing like the door open up and just seeing like this little downstairs that it takes you, and you just see like all of these kiosks and just tons and tons of video games, and it's surprising to me to see like that there's that much room, but at the same time it doesn't seem as cramped as it. How exactly do you organize your collection to benefit for you? Is it mostly just based on like each level just depending on like the era that it was in, or is it just mostly for personal preferences first and then you just go to things that aren't as interesting to you after that?
So everything is interesting to me. um, I think when I first started trying to collect, I went for the items that I had growing up.
Mhm.
Then I quickly learned of more and more items. So it's like I wanted to get even more and I wanted to educate myself and I wanted to kind of learn as I went. And then I just started finding like these crazy items I knew nothing about. And then I just started, posting about these things like pictures. And then, it's like as I've started from, obviously living with my parents at one point
Mhm.
and then moving into like an apartment style, place, you just have to maximize the amount of items that you have, like the space that you have. So like every item, you kind of just have to like cram everything in one particular area. You can't have extra shelf space. You can't have all this extra wall space. You just have to like put everything that you have into those areas. That way you maximize the amount of like space that you could potentially take up. So as I was like living there and saving up for a house, I took that into account. So when I bought my house, I toured the basement. Like everyone goes to the kitchen, everyone goes to, all these different areas, and I went straight to the basement because I was like, that's my game room. And then next thing you know, I saw this bonus room, and I'm like, that's my arcade. And I was like, oh, spare bedrooms. That's gonna be my room. So it's just, I kind of like picked this house for the games and the toys, and I didn't realize that I was going to quickly outgrow
Mhm.
space. Now, I mean, obviously, I can take over some other areas, but I would love to have everything kind of like this dedicated area. So you just kind of have to like carefully, pick what goes where, and then I try and keep most of the toys separate. And then I have some of like the newer stuff up here, and then like in the living room, I have the PS5 and some of like the newer games. But everything retro, minus the Switch, is downstairs. It just makes it a little bit easier that way.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's not as cluttered as it usually would be for like some other collectors. And that's the one thing that I've always seen sometimes is that there's usually a limit to like some items that people want in their collections. And then there's others that are in that mindset of like the FOMO type of category. Is that with you sometimes, or are you just like, I don't really care, I just enjoy collecting as a hobby?
So I always like battle this, back and forth when I talk to people. So I've gotten creative over time and I've tried to hold out as long as I can for certain items because I know I can hunt them down. I can find those items for way cheaper than, what they go for. So I guess part of it is like that thrill of the hunt, going out there trying to find a better deal, trying to go out to yard sales, flea markets, thrift stores,
Mhm.
retro gaming stores, traveling, going to different states, getting in a car, just driving for several hours, and finding this like once in a lifetime deal that you would have paid way more if you just jumped into it. So try to be a little bit more strategic now. I think when I first started collecting, I didn't know a lot. So I would say that maybe at the beginning I kind of like jumped into certain things. But now it's like I'm kind of strategic and I go for like waves of certain things. So like recently I just started collecting like it's hard to see back there, but like small soldiers from the late 1990s,
Mhm.
and I just started collecting those little action figures, and I got such a great deal at a store, and ended up throwing some stuff in for free. So it just, it all kind of like worked out. So like if I just do little pieces here and there, and then I switch back to certain game systems that I'm collecting for, it just kind of keeps it a little bit more of like, a target that you're trying to go for.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. Now, since you brought up small soldiers, who would you say is like one of your favorites out of that particular toy line or the movie itself? Would it be Archer, or would it be like some of the army guys that were part of the movie?
I think I'd have to say the good guy. I'd have to say Archer and
Hmm.
all of his buddies, part of the Gorgonites.
Oh yeah.
Um, but Chip Hazard, like they're all awesome looking too. But of course, I'd have to side with the good guys. So I would say that pretty much any of them are going to be my favorite. I just started rewatching a lot of these movies from like the 90s again, and
Mhm.
they're just so fascinating.
Yeah, I think I still have, I'm trying to remember who it was that it was the eyeball. The one with the, 3
Okay.
legs. I cannot
Yes.
remember the name of him right now, but I know that, they had Happy Meal toys back in the day,
Yes.
and I
So
still have
the
that one. It's like the suction cups that you can, like, put it against a window. I think I still have that same toy somewhere.
they had a bunch from Burger King. So
That's
I
right.
have a couple of the little ones. So I actually the same day that I went into the toy store and I had bought a lot of like the bigger figures, they had a
Mhm.
couple of the Burger King ones. I went into a thrift store and I looked in one of those like little grab bags. They had small soldiers and I was like, "What are the odds on the same day at a thrift store and then a toy store finding exactly what I'm trying to collect?"
That's incredible. And I usually see some people do that a lot of the time. And I know that one of the more common items that they like to find are the video game themed Happy Meal toys. And I'm pretty sure that it's the same for you on that. And speaking of which, and it does tie in with the movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie toys that came
Mhm.
out. Did you happen to get any of those?
Yeah, so I actually have, I believe I have all of them.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to get the display, but I do have a Sonic the Hedgehog display downstairs. So that one has all of the Sonic toys. So I'd love to have, my Sonic display next to a McDonald's display for Mario.
Oh, nice.
But it's just, I could go and buy whichever one on eBay, but once again, I like to try and find those deals. So I'm waiting to find one like in person with a really good condition, maybe make some sort of deal on it and then not pay like full retail value on that.
Yeah, especially later down the line when a lot of collectors are going after that type of stuff. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask you a little bit about displays and stuff like that a little bit later. But to me, like the Happy Meal ones in particular are like the coolest because that was stuff that we ended up getting to go like on a Friday, or if we go to a doctor's appointment and we were good there the whole entire time, they would go to have like McDonald's and get like one of those Happy Meals, and it's always cool to be able to find that. So,
Yes.
and speaking of more Happy Meal stuff, like out of all the video game like kids meal toys that they released back in the day, what would you say was one of your personal favorites that you were wanting to get?
I'd say other than like Mario and the Sonic, I would say probably Pokemon
Oh
because
yeah.
Pokemon was everywhere, and then I would also have to say probably Rugrats.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot Burger King did actually have a bunch of Rugrats ones back in the 90s, but I don't think I ever got any of those. Did you happen to get any of those when you were younger?
I think I got the watches
Hmm.
that they used to have. I think I had some of the toys, but I think maybe I was more so interested in the watches.
Now, since you brought that up, I know that on Retrowolf's podcast, you talked a little bit about you somehow getting a hold of the prototype artwork that they were using to design the toys themselves. Now, just for a presser course, remind people how it was you got a hold of these items. Was it just at like an estate sale that you found these at, or was it just from like an online transaction, like let's say a Facebook Marketplace?
So it was an online transaction, and I had reached out to the gentleman who had posted a couple different. They're actually in my desk drawer. So these are these are like the Simpsons ones. So pretty much these would have been the toys, and these would have been like the proofs they would have
Oh, okay.
actually had.
Oh wow.
So these would have been like the covers that went in there, but then of course they like hand drew out and they like printed some of these, and then of course they even like
Wow.
colored some of them as well to show you like the action of what these toys would actually do. So I'd say like my favorite ones are going to be like the colored ones.
Oh
So these
yeah.
would have been like these Simpson toys, and they actually changed it. They were going to do the red, but then they changed it to a blue shirt. And I think the reason why they changed it to a blue shirt is because all the other characters had like that blue. But I love this one too.
Oh yeah, Homer inside the donut.
And
Wow.
then of course we have this one. But it's just, you find people who have like this one of a kind stuff, and then you just try and like, make deals with them. So then this one even has like the tracer paper on top.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and use that for some of the advertisements for it. Yeah, it's one thing, like, we've seen people like Pixel Game Squad, where recently they found, like, some of the production artwork that went into, like, making some of the DIC. I don't know how people pronounce the name, but it's like DIC. And just seeing, like, promotional art and even, like, some storyboards that people just find out in the wild. So it also goes to ask the same thing. So you said you got how was it you were talking to them originally about this stuff?
I just saw like the posting that they had of this stuff for sale. It just said like Burger King original artwork or something, and then I just started messaging them, and then they showed me some verification from the actual company that worked on these toys,
Mhm.
and all of these different contract agreements that they had. So I actually have some of those in there. Um, and next thing you know, we worked out a deal to get some of that. So I got some of the Rugrats, and I got that particular Simpsons toy. Then I even have like the toys completely sealed. So that's
Oh, nice.
one of the I have the full set of 4. But like that's the artwork that they chose to do for the actual toy. And then, this like rolls. So like kind of how the action was drawn out. But like this stuff is just so cool, and you know, it's like that stuff could have been thrown out. That stuff could have gotten damaged or, lost over time, but now I have like a piece of history, and the plan is to get that stuff framed and get it preserved essentially so that it won't like further deteriorate.
Honestly, it's really neat to see because, yeah, as you stated, that is a very big important part of history.
Mhm.
And a lot of people sometimes don't really think much about it, but whenever you show them things like that, it brings up a lot of nostalgia, but in a good way, because it's like stuff that they grew up around and seeing TV commercials where they see that advertised that you get into big, not a Happy Meal, it's a big kids club meal or whatever they used to call it. It was like that was the thing that was confusing because that was the cool kids Happy Meal as opposed to McDonald's, and it was just I don't know. The toys just seemed like they were better quality, and then I don't think anybody ever talks about Burger King big kids meals anymore for some reason.
It's always like McDonald's and Mario or Sonic or Batman.
Yeah, or Batman as well. So, I'm actually looking at my my things on the side, and one thing that I always ask this about people in their own collections, and I know that there's like a bunch of toy stuff because I'm nerding out right now looking at the Power Rangers stuff. And yeah, I don't really see it, but do you have the Megazord, like the original print run Megazord that they released back in the 90s?
There's a couple like bigger Megazords.
Mhm.
There's some boxes and stuff behind. So there's like there's a Tiger Zord. There is a Megazord. There's just a couple different Zords, like behind different boxes. I
Hmm.
don't know if I have the largest one, but I do have quite, I guess, like some of like the mid-sized ones.
Hmm. I think one of the more bigger ones would be Serpentera, and that one's more like a big green
Mhm.
snake looking thing. But that
Yeah.
was like Lord Zed's little mech back in the day. But yeah, that to me is like pretty much my thing. And I had the original Megazord, but I want to say it was either in Torgs or it was during Cleveland Gaming Classic is where I ended up selling it off because I needed money for a car. And
Mhm.
that's maybe the one piece that I do kind of regret because that was always something that I grew up with. But since I brought that up, like, what would you say is like one thing out of the whole entire collection that you own that you would not get rid of and you would basically sell off everything? What exactly would that be for you?
So it's gonna sound crazy because I have big items like that are worth value, like serious money.
Mm.
Um, I would say the one thing that I could never get rid of, no matter what, and it would be the first thing that I always saved. That would be my childhood Jungle Green Nintendo 64 console,
Oh,
with
nice.
the controller. And recently, so my box, the Donkey Kong one, it actually got damaged when I was much, much younger. I think my grandparents' basement leaked,
Mm.
water got on it. Same with like my Pokemon Red and Blue boxes and Yellow and all that sad stuff. So
Mm.
recently, I bought like a replacement box. It's a legit box. It's just not the one that came with my childhood one.
Mhm.
I would say like that as a set would probably be something that I never, got rid of because that's what I remember as my very first video game system. Not the first one that I played because I had older cousins and we used to play the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Mhm.
So, obviously playing Mario was like my first memory. But a Jungle Green Nintendo 64 is kind of what sparked all of this collecting. When I, dug it out of storage, and next thing you know, I just started collecting. So,
Oh, I gotcha. Well, would that also tie in with your YouTube stuff? And I know that it's also with Instagram and whichever other platforms you usually post on, because sometimes that people are passionate enough to the point that they want to start making content, but I'm guessing that that's kind of how you got started, or what was like a inspiration for wanting to make video content based on your hobby?
this is gonna sound crazy.
Mhm.
So, I did not know that there was like this whole community, this entire world of like gaming stuff online.
Mhm.
I used YouTube, back in the day to like learn how to break dance, learn how to roller skate and do moves in the roller skates, learn how to make balloon animals, learn how to ride a unicycle. I made like I watched these YouTube videos of that type of stuff, when I was like in high school and college and a mascot and did all this crazy stuff back then. Um so I didn't know that there was this whole gaming world. So a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you should take pictures and put it on Instagram." I said, "What's Instagram?" Now I'm on like Facebook, and back in the day it was like MySpace or whatever.
Mhm.
So I just used it for like, school type of stuff and like keeping in touch with people and family. So someone said you should make an Instagram and you should post pickups, like pictures of things that you buy or you start to collect. I said, okay, I'll just take pictures of random things that I like. The next thing you know, I started posting things and I started seeing that there's like this community of people who collect games, people who like to, like play these games, and someone messages me and says, "Hey, you keep tagging yourself in Maryland. I wonder if you're local to me." I told this person like kind of roundabouts where I'm at, not like specifically like, "Hey, my address is blank."
Oh yeah.
Um so I messaged them and said I'm kind of close to like this mall or this area. He was like, "Hey, do you want to meet up for lunch?" I promise I'm not a crazy person, yada yada. I have a YouTube channel, that's what he told me.
Mhm.
I make X amount of money and I'd like to help you make YouTube videos.
Oh
I
wow.
said, sure, what do I have to lose? So I meet this person, daylight, have lunch, and it's like a business meeting. He says that he'll come over, he'll film my collection, edit the videos, and then he'll post them. And then we could talk about, money later. Because I said, I'm not really in it for that. I would just like to, put my stuff out there.
Mhm.
So he said, okay, like we'll talk about it. So he comes over my house. At the time, I think it was like an apartment. He films for about 6 hours. Now, mind you, it was just like a small room like this
Mm.
of like toys and games, and like that was it. There might have been like a little section that had like a Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES Sharp TV, might have had like one kiosk or something, or like a Sega cabinet,
Hmm.
and that might have been it. So he came over, or maybe it was a little bit more. So he came over, he filmed for about 6 hours. I'm nervous as anything. I've never talked in front of a camera before.
Hmm.
I'm like stuttering. I don't know my own name. Like it's just, it's like nerve wracking. I have
Hmm.
this strange person, over. So he essentially films, and then next thing you know, he like edits, he posts the video. It does pretty well. I get like all these like friends and family reaching out, and it gets like several hundred views right away. I get all these
Oh,
different
wow.
subscribers, and it seems like it's taking off. So while he was at my house, I think he filmed like two more videos after that, just like pickups. Then I was like, hey, like when's the next one gonna come out? Everyone keeps messaging me, and he's like, it'll just take a minute, yada yada. So about a week or so passes, and then he posts a second video. And then he just doesn't really communicate after that. It's like he went ghost.
Oh, wow. Now,
So I messaged him and I'm like, "Hey, I hope everything's okay. People are really enjoying this." He's like, "Oh, everything's fine. I'm just a little bit busy." And I was like, "Should I like try and find someone else? Should I do this myself? What should I do?" He's like, "No, no, no. I got it. I'll post your other videos." And then a couple weeks passed and he's like, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was going to be a lot. I managed to eat channels. Good luck to you. I'm here if you need anything." And I
hmm.
was like, "Oh, I do. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity." Then I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So next thing you know, I'm just posting random things, editing on a phone, trying to, get better at things. Then I buy a camera. I start trying to like learn how to edit and stuff. Still not the best, but here I am. And I've met so many great people in this community. People have given me tips and helped me, and I pretty much do everything myself now. And I do the reels, like the shorts on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I post on like Twitter and some other smaller, social medias, and then
Hmm.
Facebook groups, and then YouTube, and now I'm, with this like group called Game Junction. So like
Hmm.
everyone's just having a blast, and that's just what it's all about. Like it doesn't really feel like work. It's just a hobby. It's just like a fun time. So I'm just enjoying it. But from starting to now, like I never thought this would even be a thing.
Yeah, and right now I had to double check to verify if I was seeing it correctly, but I could have swore that your channel had just hit 5,000, and I just double checked, and you're currently about, I think it's like almost 100 away from like 8,000 or some crazy like that. And you started doing videos back, what, during the pandemic around 2021, or when was it?
It was a little bit beforehand. I think it was 2018 or 2019.
Hmm, okay.
It was a very slow start. Like the first, it took a while to like get monetized, and it took a while to get, like the 1,000 subscribers and the watch time. I
Mhm,
think that took a couple years. And then at the end of last year, I was just at like 6,000 and some. And my goal for this year was to hit, 10,000, this whole year. And I'm already
mhm,
almost at 8. So I guess there's a possibility where that could even happen a lot sooner. So, I mean,
mm.
you never know. It's just having a good time, and, being a part of the community, and, numbers really don't matter. It's just, it's fun to have, goals and stuff
Yeah,
set in mind.
that's the one thing with any community that I feel is like any sort of collaborative efforts, and it doesn't really matter like you said, the number of subs or view counts that somebody has, as long as that the content and anything else that's in a creative mindset is good. To me, it feels like it bounces ideas off of other people and it helps them out, and that's one
Mhm.
thing that I personally like about the community, as opposed to a lot of other ones that are out there. But yeah, as you said, it is very open armed, and yeah, being able to meet a bunch of new people that you never thought existed before is always something cool to be able to experience.
Exactly. And it's like, all these like different video game conventions and just meeting people like all over the world, and then people
Mhm.
come to the same area, and next thing you know you're like laughing, having a good time, going out, for food and drinks, or just, playing games together, and, just like growing and supporting one another and helping each other through these tough times and educating and learning. And then people message you and they say like, now I get a lot of haters too, who say really rude things about the collection and
Mhm.
things like that. But you do get a lot of good comments of, thank you so much. I've been going through a tough time. Your content has really helped me. Or thank you so much. Me and my son, we watch your stuff together. We
Oh.
feel like we have bonded. We used to not have anything in common. We bond over your content and we just really enjoy the gaming, and I feel like I'm closer to my kids. And you get like these really positive messages, and you're like, wow, like I never thought that this could do that. Like I had no idea.
That's excellent that you're able to have that type of compliment, because I know channels like Pixel Game Squad usually get it a lot of the time as well, where in a positive way. And that's one thing that they always try to look at is the good in the community, and they always try to shine a light onto that. And basically from what your comment has stated is pretty much fact, is that good, wholesome video gaming content, not about the drama or like the hate, but just more of the positivity when it comes to a community is, to me, really the biggest trait whenever it comes to anybody that's not sure if they want to be a part of it. But I think it's just from remarks that you've just basically stated is more than enough of a reason to pretty much prove all the other content creators right as far as positivity goes.
So I think that's very important. I think a lot of people have certain hobbies to escape, problems or
Mhm.
the hardships that are out there. And you can't have all of that negative stuff in a hobby. You can't have, people going back and forth or not supporting one another or just bringing up different things. It's like, people use this as their type of escape, their way to relax or like de-stress, So it's like it's great to have this positive community, keep bringing that positive motion forward, because that's what's enjoyable. That's the part of
Mm.
making this hobby fun.
So, I guess, since you mentioned about unwinding and also on the topic of video games, what to you is a perfect video game to unwind with? Is it something that has like a very long playtime, or is it just something like a survival crafting game, which is like one of the more popular topics?
I feel like as we get older, we tend to have a little bit less and less time, especially me per se, when you work full time and then you
Mhm.
make content and you're making shorts every day, and on certain days off you're just like, making tons of videos, and you edit as you go, and things like that. It's nice to unwind to a video game for me per se that is not extremely long, because if
Mhm.
I start one I don't want to forget where I'm at, and then continue. Now I will play certain games depending on when they come out. It just depends because sometimes I get a little bit behind. I love fighting games, which is crazy to say like unwind to.
Mhm.
And I also like racing games, and I like the quick, like family party game style. So like anything Mario or, Nintendo, where you just like sit down, you have people over, everyone's enjoying food, and next thing you know, you're just playing through Mario Kart or Mario Party or, something along the lines of that. But it's a variety. I like pretty much any type of video game. And then I just try and circle through different ones that I like, whether it be like a shoot 'em up style
Mhm.
or like a Contra or a Castlevania style, something along the lines of, whatever.
Oh, I gotcha. Now, it's interesting and funny at the same time that you mentioned Mario Party and Mario Kart, because the first thing that most people come to mind whenever it's any of those games is anger-inducing rage, or it's the friend destroyer game. We've always heard that being categorized as those. Has it ever seemed like that for you whenever it comes to those games, or is it just you're only enjoying it to have fun?
I think sometimes people get a little bit upset when they don't win.
Mhm.
Um, but I usually am fine, I guess because I'm the one who typically wins. But so I haven't really noticed it, but no, I mean most of it, like you just have that playful banter back and forth, or
Mhm.
you play that slow motion replay, on like the newer Mario Karts, and then you just see like the character like turning and like as they hit you at the finish line, and it's just comical. You just replay it over and over again, and everyone tends to laugh, and then you just move on. So it's usually pretty well received, I would say.
I know that it may not be something that you would make video content on, but is that something that maybe one day that you get some friends or family over to make videos with, or is it just never been something that you've wanted to bother them with? Because I'm pretty sure that, just like you said earlier, that being in front of a camera is nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it's still fun whenever you're able to get some kind of interesting videos out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we just started like reaching out, so um Mr. Right Way
Mhm.
actually just he just came down and we went out video game hunting together. He just released his first video that I'm in. We did a couple collab videos in the game room.
Mhm.
He filmed a little bit of the game room. It was like a whole group of us, video game votery. So, it was Steve and then my buddy Marcus. So we were just, all having a good time, just playing games, game hunting, filming, just kind of like playing off of, like the next thing. So that was definitely a fun time. So I'd like to actually do a little bit more of like going out there and game hunting together. I think that would be a lot of fun. And then even when Retro Wolf 88 came out, that was definitely a blast too. So he filmed my entire game room and I'm like so grateful because he did such an amazing job at it, and like his whole vision of it and the execution of editing style and everything, that just it made my room look like I wanted to go there. So
It basically makes it look like the game room is not as cluttered as it would be whenever you're like there in person. But it's cool to be able to see that a lot of big time creators are starting to take notice of your work and be able to want to collab, and that's, as we stated earlier, it's like just a lot of the positivity from the community coming out to support anybody who is as passionate as they are in the hobby. And I think that that's really awesome to be able to see that where you're getting involved with all these. And speaking of collabing and working with other content creators, back to I mispronounced the name almost. Game Junction. Now, I've noticed that on their channel, they do a podcast and some other content as well. And you've been getting active on, I think it's their, maybe their Discord channel. I can't remember if you were on there or not, and also their live streams. How was it that you guys got to collaborate together to be able to work on videos? And I know that they haven't been around as long as some other channels, so how has that been for you so far with them?
I think they're great. Everyone's super nice. Everyone's very supportive.
Mhm.
So pretty much what happened was, I think Brandon actually reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to be on a podcast?" And I was like, "Sure." Let me just check my schedule. Had to make sure, that things could work. And it wasn't a live podcast. It was like a pre-recorded one for because it was around the holidays.
Mhm.
So a lot of people, go away to their family and friends and do things like that. So we ended up filming and then we just started like talking afterwards, and everyone was super nice, and he was just telling me that all these people just like want to come together, they want to create content, they
Mhm.
want to have a good time, be a part of the community. And then he's like, "Hey, do you want to join us on like the next podcast?" And I was like, "Sure, like that would be fun." So the next thing you know, I just started like meeting certain guests that they had on, and it was always a fun time. And sometimes, we talk a little afterwards and we have a lot more fun, but it's,
Hmm.
you know, it's just definitely, a cool time. And then next thing you know, we're doing like different like trio videos where we're talking about like, all three of us together on like a particular topic, or, kind of like debating style topics.
Hmm.
And then they do a lot of news, and then I've been doing some shorts for the news. So everyone's just great. Everyone's really supportive. It's very encouraging words. So, why wouldn't you want to work, together with someone who's been very supportive and, compliments on certain videos that go, and, all the positive nature, and it's a fun time. So,
Oh yeah, I
enjoying
definitely
it.
understand that. And that was the other thing. I know Brendan has been like trying to get me on his podcast too. And I do apologize ahead of time for him. I've just been very busy on my part. But yeah, it just seems like from the little bit of footage that I've seen, where it's a pretty standard setup, but at the same time, it seems like everybody has that energy to be able to bounce off material off of each other and to be able to create a podcast recording talking about Mortal Kombat or Super Nintendo or some other type of video game topic that's out there. So that would be that'd be interesting to be able to see where they go from there and seeing like some of the other content that they're able to start producing. So speaking of Game Junction, is there anything that's coming out in the down the lane or down the pipe or however you want to pronounce it that you guys are working on, or is it kind of hush hush at the moment?
Well, we do have a lot of things that we want to move forward to.
Hmm.
We're still working out some things, so we don't want to like, I guess, like jinx anything. But definitely expect to see even more than like what we're doing now, essentially.
Hmm.
So we're all trying to eventually get together as well at different conventions, and kind of go from there. And I'm definitely looking forward to it because it seems like every idea that we just kind of bounce around, and it's just positive, and so I'm definitely excited about that.
Excellent. So, I guess the only other thing I was going to ask before we get to the last bit of the interview, since you were talking about conventions, have you been to any yet, or has that been something that you've thought about doing but aren't really sure where to start?
I had never been to a convention other than like a couple like toy shows and like smaller things, but I wouldn't say that they're like these big conventions because they're usually just like a big open room that I've been to.
Mhm.
Kind of local. So it was 2 years ago. Got invited out to Southeast Game Exchange in
Oh,
South
nice.
Carolina, and they wanted me to be like a guest panelist. So I was on a panel with, several other like female YouTubers. So it was me and JLove81, then it was Zap Crystal, and then it was Lacey from Do You Nerd.
Mhm.
So it was all of us together, and we were just talking about, what it's like to be like a female in the gaming world, and the support for one another, and just like gaming and having fun in the community. So, I was super excited because I had never been to a convention. Then I get invited out, then I'm on a guest panel, and then people complimented it, and I'm like, what is going on? And then, I just started going to different conventions from that. So there's a couple local ones that I go to. Now, like those ones, they have like much bigger YouTubers and stuff who go to.
Mhm.
So, you just like go in, but you meet up with like the smaller content creators. You guys walk around, you guys talk, you guys, game hunt, and it's just always a fun time. And then last year I got back invited out to Southeast Game Exchange again.
Mm.
I was also on another panel, and we were playing games, and the cool spin was one of the audience members would come up, reach into the box, grab a Super Nintendo game. We would have it like right on like the big screen, and you would have to like spin a wheel, and that would be like your way of, having something against you. So whether it was one hand behind your back,
Oh, wow.
blindfolded, playing with, like, you have two people holding the controller and you guys have to play as a team. It was just like a fun little creative idea that we all came up with, and that was a fun time. And then you just meet everyone that you talk to and stuff online, and next thing you know, I ended up getting invited out to Syracuse, New York, and I
Hmm.
had ABC News actually mic me up at the convention, and they wanted to get an interview with me. And the next thing you know, I had ABC News' show Nightline coming to my house, and they filmed my game room. Now I'm on Hulu, and in like a little featured section of an episode. Like, anyone who has Hulu can actually see that whole interview as well. So, it's just like, I never thought that this stuff would happen. And then now I have a couple documentaries in the works,
Wow.
where I'm like in a guest, is one. So I'm hoping it comes out this year. There's like a video game part, and then this is like part two of documentary that he's been putting on. And then there's also a toy documentary, and I just had that interview for that, and that's supposed to come out, I think, next year. So it's like, each like step that we keep going through, it's like I never knew that this was going to happen. So like each thing, and then it's like, what's next? What's the bigger picture? And it's like, what am I working, towards next? And I have several ideas and everything. It's just trying to get everything together. So that's the exciting part, I guess.
Well, for being in the community for what feels like only a few handful of years, it seems like that's impressive. I've never seen one person just tackle so many different sides of the hobby so quickly as you have. And that, I mean, it's incredible, and you haven't even reached 10,000 subs yet. So hopefully by the time you reach 100,000, you'll be doing stuff like Adam Korlick does, where he goes out to Japan and does game hunting out there.
Yes, that's definitely in the future. Game hunting everywhere. It's kind of what I'm working towards, and then I'd love to have some sort of like museum or like store/museum that self funds itself,
Mhm.
that I can have more and more people come out and see these like one of a kind items. So that's, what we're talking, like years down the road, but I'm still young enough to where I feel like that is a reality.
Well, here's hoping that does end up happening, and we'll hopefully be able to go through your museum later down the line, because video game history is like another type of video category that I associated with, because I like covering obscure gaming stuff. But here's hoping that your dream on that eventually happens.
Oh, I know it will. It just went.
Yeah, definitely went. So people who are listening and better look forward to that. So with that being said, we covered over everything that we could think of for the recording, but there's one last thing that we haven't gotten to yet, and that is our good old 5 count. Now, for anybody that is not familiar with this, it is basically a segment that we give the person we're interviewing 5 content creators, or basically anywhere, no matter where it's at, of people they recommend that anybody listening checks out. So, with that being said, feel free to name off 5 people or shows that you're watching right now.
Well, I guess one thing that's like kind of up and coming is obviously what I'm helping with on Game Junction.
Hmm.
But I would say a lot of the community members that I really appreciate. Buddy Blips and Pips. So he has like a smaller channel as well. He's also local. I've been to several conventions with him. I've hung out with him and his wife. It's just always like a great time. So Blips and Pips.
Mhm.
And I would also have to thank Retro Wolf 88.
Of course.
I've met him, and he's amazing. He did such a great job with my game room tour. He's a really nice guy. There's so many great people in this community as well. I would even say that Do You Nerd. So
Hmm.
Tom and Lacey from Do You Nerd. They're great as well. Even Retro Rivals.
Oh,
So they're
yes.
based out of Canada. They're always nice and supportive as well.
And very
Um,
vulgar at times.
but they're great in the
Mhm.
community. That's kind of what it is. my buddy Russ Lyman.
Hmm.
So he's also not extremely far. And just everyone else, Pac-Man Case.
Hmm.
He's a great guy. Even Retro Rick. We've all met and hung out, and we always have a blast. And even NES Addict.
Hmm.
There's just so many. J Love 81, Mr. Right Way, Zap Crystal. It's just so many different people. So I'm sorry if I forget anyone.
Well, that's
I do.
okay.
I cycle through. I cycle through a lot of different people. I know that was more than 5, but
Oh, that's okay. I mean, we usually let anybody just on here recommend as many as possible, but it's always the first 5 that are like ones that people usually check out a lot. But as
yeah.
stated, what she just said, yeah, definitely check out all of them because every single one of them you just recommended are great channels for anybody just starting to get into this community to just go and check out. But we basically knocked out roughly 50 minutes of the recording. I think there was that little pause earlier. I forget where it was, but that is all part of the editing process. But big thank you to GamerAhmer for dropping by for the recording. And for anybody who has not watched her stuff yet, it is highly recommended, especially for the amount of cool things she has. Go over onto her YouTube channel at YouTube. Let's redo that one more time. YouTube.com/@ GamerAhmer. Or you can follow her over on Twitter at GamerAhmer as well. And I believe it's the same thing for over on Instagram.
So how that one worked, it was like my nickname. It was Brandalion.
Mhm.
But I think if you still search GamerAhmer and like a gamer space Ahmer, so AHMER, my last name. So I think if you search that, it'll still pop up. So I'm sure that there's a way to find everything. It's all linked together anyway. Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's everywhere.
Yeah, basically everywhere you can find her, and definitely give her a follow. But huge thank you very much, GamerAhmer, for dropping by for the recording. That's 4 for 4 of like mess ups on my part this evening. But it was a pleasure to actually have you on, and hopefully somewhere down the line we'll get you back on, and you'll be at 50,000 subs or some crazy
Yes.
number like that.
No, I do appreciate you having me out. I really do thank you for that, and definitely excited to see how all this like turns out. And you never know, maybe I will, at some point be much larger, and I'll buy another house and
Oh,
sell this one,
jeez.
and hopefully it'll fit our. That is my goal, in the next few years.
Yeah, you'll
I guess like
just, yeah.
5 year.
Yeah, you'll have like a regular house with no collectibles in it, and it's like, what happened? Why are you not collecting anymore? And then you'll point to the other house, and it's nothing but your whole entire collection. And I think that's gonna be interesting to see, maybe like 5 years down the line. But thank you once
Exactly.
again for being on for the recording. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.